Welcome back to my channel, everyone. 3 tips here, and what we have is a silver cell full of high purity silver crystal. I started this on 11 April, Tuesday 11 April. Today is Tuesday 25 April. Here is the impure silver anode basket with the anode electrode bar sitting on top of it. This is the impure silver that I feed into the anode basket, and what happens is an electric current is passed through the impure silver. The silver will dissolve, and the silver ions will travel through that Dacron filter bag down into the electrolyte down here, and they travel through the silver nitrate electrolyte and plate out as high purity silver on the inside of the stainless steel cathode. When I started this 2 weeks ago, the current flow was at around 2 amps. Now you can see it's dropped down to below 1/2 an amp. Turn the power supply off. We're going to disconnect the anode connection and remove the anode electrode bar from the circuit and get it out of the way. Now I'll loosen the cathode connection and get it out of the way. Now we'll remove the anode filter basket. It will contain impurities from the silver that's dissolved from this process. Just stick it over here out of the way. Just cover this hole up so we don't drop anything down in there. I'm removing the cathode connection down here. I've got a nut driver. Somebody gigged me on my last video for calling it a wrench. We just unscrew the stainless steel hose clamp and let it fall down like so. I'll take the cover off and remove our copper connection here. Here's a look at the high purity silver that we've grown in the electrolytic silver cell. I've had many people asking about growing silver like this. It's not grown out of thin air. I only get out of this silver cell what I put in. I add the impure silver that I collect and recover from my gold refining into the anode basket that sits up on top of the silver cell, and it's suspended down in this silver nitrate electrolyte. The silver ions pass through the filter bag. Any impurities get stuck in here in the filter basket. That will be gold and platinum group metals, and I save those filters and will recover that metal later on. But this is just high purity silver that's been refined electrolytically. I'm not creating silver out of thin air. This electrolyte has been used for 2 runs of the silver cell, and I never use it for more than 2 runs because copper builds up in it. Let's see if we can get this up here. And we're going to dump the electrolyte now into a clean beaker. Here's a look at the pure silver crystal. This is high purity elemental silver. 3/9 fine or better. Had a lot of questions about that. What do we do with it now? And this could be melted into bars or rounds and sold as investment grade 3/9 fine pure silver. This blue liquid is our used silver nitrate electrolyte. I've used it for 2 runs of the silver cell. And so now what we're going to do, carefully bring this over here to the fume hood. I never use the electrolyte for more than 2 runs of the silver cell because copper does build up in here. That's why the color is blue. From the dissolved copper, it stays in solution while the silver plates out on the cathode. But over time, the copper builds up in here, and if we use it over and over, what will happen is the copper concentration will rise, and then we could begin to deposit copper with the pure silver crystal. So this is the second use of this electrolyte. There's still silver in here, so what I'll do is I'm going to put a piece of copper in here. I'm going to add this piece of copper in here. There's still silver in this solution, and it should cement out rather quickly on this piece of copper, and we can recover the remaining silver by adding copper to our solution. This is the spent electrolyte from the silver cell. The silver cell has had 2 runs on this electrolyte, but as you can see, there's still silver in that solution. In accordance with the reactivity series of metals, copper, being a more reactive metal, will cement out a less reactive metal, in this case silver. The silver comes out of solution onto the copper goes into solution, the 2 metals trade places, and that silver coming out of solution on that piece of copper will be fairly high purity. We'll rinse all of the blue liquid off of it, and then we'll melt it into shot and run it back through the silver cell to form pure silver crystal. I've got a spatula. I'm going to scrape down the inside of the cathode and get our pure silver crystal off the cathode. Here we go. I've got a clean beaker here, and we'll get the silver down into this beaker. That's going to be about 1.5 kilos of high purity silver. So what we'll do is we're going to come over here, that electrolyte, in here is high concentration electrolyte, has silver in it still. So let's see if we can pour it into this beaker back here where we're cementing our electrolyte without disturbing the shot that I've got set up. Adding some distilled water, just cold distilled water, to begin rinsing the crystals off. And what we'll do is try to add this in, if I can do it without making a mess. What I'll do is I'll begin by doing a rinse with cold distilled water. It's best to do many small rinses rather than big rinses. Here's what the silver looks like down in there. It is high purity, 3/9 fine, pure elemental silver metal. Okay, I've got some distilled water, boiling distilled water, and what we'll do is we're going to start rinsing the pure silver crystal with boiling distilled water. Here's what our pure silver looks like down in the bottom of the beaker. I'm going to save this water. It will contain a little silver. Plus we'll use it to dilute our silver nitrate solutions in the future when we go to cement the pure silver out. Can't use a concentrated solution to cement the silver out because it'll passivate on the copper and the reaction will stop. So we got to dilute it with some distilled water. Here's a shot of the silver that we're cementing out from the electrolyte, and it's got some beautiful crystal formations. That's high purity silver as well. We'll reach in here with a stirring rod and knock these crystals down. I'll stir this up a little bit. what we'll do is put our pure silver crystal in here. And we'll turn some heat on just a little bit. And let that dry out. We'll get a weight on it. See what kind of yield we got from this silver cell run. These are the anode filter bags. And I save these as the silver in the anode filter dissolves in soluble material such as gold and platinum group metals remain in these filters. Let's set up the anode filter now. I use these shop vac Dacron filter bags. Turn them inside out. And then we stick it down in this cup. So it bottoms out. Get good contact with the electrolyte. And we'll hold that down with my chin and fit the retainer ring on. And now what we'll do is trim away the excess filter bag, and that will serve as our anode filter. Got the excess filter material trimmed away. Now what we'll do is come down here, get some of our silver shot. This is impure silver that we made by melting cement silver in our furnace and pouring it into water to form these granules. And this will be the feedstock that we use to feed impure silver into the silver cell. Here's our clean stainless steel bowl that we use as the cathode. What I'll do is slip the copper cathode connection under the stainless steel hose clamp, and then we'll tighten this up with our nut driver. I'll start out by making some electrolyte for the silver cell. We zero this out, and I've got some pure silver crystal that I've reserved from previous silver cell runs. You don't have to have pure silver crystal to make the electrolyte. You could use pure silver bars or rounds. I'm just going to add some of this silver now to our beaker. I'm going to measure out about 650 grams of silver. And what we'll do is add some distilled water now to this. Distilled water. I've got the water level to about just under 700 milliliters in here. And what I'll do now is add some nitric acid. This is technical grade nitric acid that I got at doodahdiesel.com. I'm at about just a little over maybe 300 milliliters of nitric acid. I'll cover this up we'll set this back up on the heating pad. I'm not going to add any heat to it just yet because there should be quite a bit of heat given off just from that reaction. Now when that simmers down, and we'll add a little bit of heat, start dissolving our pure silver to make silver nitrate electrolyte for the silver cell. This is about a 2-hour time lapse. You'll see I added some more nitric acid and more water in there. And you see that there's a blue color being given off. That would lead one to think that there's copper in my pure silver crystal. This is not the case. That blue color comes from a way that the nitric acid reflects light as it's reacting with the silver. This has been on boiling now for a little over 2 hours. I added another 200 milliliters of nitric acid and 200 milliliters of water during that dissolve. And so I've got a little bit of silver left down in here. I've still got some fume production going on. I want to boil this until all the fumes are completely gone. And I got a little bit of silver left down in the bottom of that beaker. I'm adding another spoon of silver in here just to make sure that we've got enough silver in there to completely consume all of the free nitric acid in that beaker. This is perfect. No more fumes. A little bit of silver left down in the bottom of the beaker, which means we've consumed all the available free nitric in there. The time right now is 6:10. We started this about noon, so it's taken about 6 hours to complete this process. We'll use this as the electrolyte for the silver cell. I'm going to reach in here with a glass rod and knock this crystal down, give it a stir. And now what we'll do is I've got a filter flask prepared here. This is the silver nitrate electrolyte that we prepared. I'm going to filter it now. Let's put the cover back on here so nothing falls down in there. And we'll reconnect the cathode connection. I've connected the cathode connection to the negative terminal on the power supply. As you can see, there's nothing in the filter. So what we'll do now is remove the filter. Get it out of the way. This is high purity silver nitrate that I made by dissolving some of the pure crystal silver in nitric acid. Now let's move the cover out of the way, and we'll add the silver nitrate electrolyte to the silver cell. You can see the silver nitrate is clear and colorless. I'm going to pour it right into our stainless steel bowl now. Now what we'll do is add some distilled water. This is about 600 grams of pure silver in here, dissolved in this solution. We're going to top it up to within a half an inch of the top or the rim of the silver cell now with distilled water. Stir it up real good to make sure we got a nice homogeneous solution. Now we'll put the cover on. Here's our impure silver in our anode filter basket. Drop that in, and the bottom of that will be suspended in the electrolyte in our cell. This is the anode bar, and I rinse it with some distilled water to get all the slimes off from the previous silver cell run, so we got a nice clean contact surface. Here we go. We're going to put the anode electrode bar on top of our impure silver in here, and up here what we'll do is make the connection to the positive side of the power supply. I've got everything set up now. We've got the impure silver in the anode filter basket. It is suspended in the electrolyte. See that? And so now what we'll do, cover this back up. I'm going to energize our power supply up here. See what kind of current flow we get through the solar cell. Alright, that's pretty good. 2.2 amps. I need 3.5 volts. There we go. 3.5 volts at just over 2 amps. Alright, let's see the time right now. It's about 10:30 on 25 April. We just placed the silver cell in operation, and what we'll do is come back out here in a few minutes, see if we can see any silver crystals forming in there. I can see some already, actually. There's already some pure silver crystal beginning to form on the cathode. I've got the pure silver crystal dried completely. Let's get a weight on this. Just going to add it to this container. Okay, looks like we've got 1,179 grams of high purity silver crystal. Okay, here's our silver that we've cemented out of the electrolyte. Let me stir this up. And what we'll do is I'll rinse all that blue liquid off of there, and then we'll melt that cement silver into shot and run it back through the silver cell. And here's our electrolytic silver cell. Time right now is about 20 minutes to 6. I think we started at 10:30, so we've been running for 8 hours. There's our readings: 2.2 amps, 3.5 volts. Let's look down in here and see what it looks like inside the cell. Oh yeah, we're starting to grow some nice silver crystal in here now. This will conclude the video. Thank you for watching.